So hi, welcome again to my Blab. I'm calling this my BlabCast. I think that term is not new. I think I saw it written, on the internet somewhere. But I'm Sylvia Henderson, and this broadcast is meant to be reasonably short and sweet, as it will be every week. And I focus on the world of ideas, helping people get their ideas out of their heads and into action. And now really laser focusing on making investor pitches. How do we make pitches for not just money? How do we ask for support? How do we get our ideas out and ask for goods and services that we need? So as you're tuning in, as you're listening, if you're on joining me live, then you have a chance to send me a chat message about what's on your mind this week. So until I see a specific, hey, ask me a question. I know there's a question. Oh, there's a question spot here. So, ask me a specific question. I'll see if I can answer it. But unless somebody does, I think today I'm going to talk about what I'm feeling. And what I'm feeling is time moving on. I'm going to keep trying to monitor. I'm alone. I'm going to keep trying to monitor the chat and the questions and all of that. But right now, I think what's really on my mind is time is moving on. It's mid-November. I know we're going to get inundated with, messages and notes about planning for the new year and make those resolutions and what are your goals and all of that stuff and for the coming year. And if you're an entrepreneur, or if you want to be an entrepreneur, you're sitting here thinking, got an idea and I want to make this happen. If any of that is going through you, then you're not alone. Entrepreneurs all over the world are thinking that. And I want to help move those thoughts, move those ideas you have either already in place or that you're trying to get or work on, move them to action. And I focus on the little steps. Yeah, there are big things you can do. You can set your big goals, and I do that. I teach that. You can lay out your complicated plans, and I do that. I teach that. But, I find myself stuck, kind of like now, looking at the rest of the year, thinking, oh my gosh, I teach this stuff. I coach people on this stuff. I do programs on getting into action and moving ahead. But then I find myself stuck. I find myself looking at the calendar 6 weeks to go right now. And I think, oh my gosh, there's so much on the calendar, so much to do, plus holidays, plus family, plus I want to take some time off for me because I believe in a balanced life. Maybe not so balanced, but at least spending some time for me to relieve the stress of everything else. That I sat here this morning thinking, okay, what irony, I'm stuck. So let me just give a couple of tips on things that I'm going to do myself and take my own advice for kind of moving along in the next 6 weeks of the year. Because, with all the plan for 2016 or plan for the next year, there's still things we can do this year to still realize our ideas or take some action or take the next little step to make sure the rest of this year falls into place. So that's what I'm going to share in the next few minutes, if that's okay with you. And again, unless I see a question, that's what this week's broadcast will be about. So little things that can still be done this year. Okay, take a look at your calendar. And I don't believe in being tied to the calendar, but my calendar does govern me somewhat. So take a look at your calendar and think about one thing, not everything you didn't get done in this year, but one thing that you might still be able to accomplish this year, accomplish in 4 to 6 weeks, and be realistic. But if you take that one thing and then lay that out on your calendar, if you think linearly like I do, which means just in a straight line, timeline, I draw timelines. So I'll draw a timeline for the next 6 weeks, and I'll put little increments on the timeline each week. And then I'm going to think about one thing, maybe two things that I still want to and know I can accomplish this year going into the holiday season. I celebrate Christmas. So whatever holiday you celebrate, going into your holiday season, and just lay that on the calendar and lay it out realistically. When I say realistically, I mean, what do you think you really can accomplish? Don't get all psycho crazy. Oh, I'm going to accomplish 15 more tasks related to this one thing in the next 6 weeks. Because reality is you probably aren't. I don't care how ambitious you are, how on the go you are. So that one thing that you can do by in the next 6 weeks, and say, just plan on little actions along the week, each week. Maybe one, for example, I am redoing my web presence. That's a big thing because I'm focusing more on investor pitching for startups and early stage entrepreneurs. Still helping people get their ideas out and implement it, but more focused towards investor pitches. Now, redoing my web presence is a big project, and I've got help with that. But between now and the end of the year, one of my one things is just to, I'm going to work through how I want the web page to look and some thoughts on where I want the linkages to go and what I want to have on the site. I didn't say redoing the entire site in the next 6 weeks. I said I'm going to map out, so something specific and measurable. I'm going to map out, draw, paper and pencil, what I want the site to look like, what I want the columns to look like, and the linkages, and some thoughts on what pages still need to stay, what pages need to change. So that's a realistic thing that can be done in the next 6 weeks for me, for redoing my web presence as the bigger picture. So that's the one action that is really doable. I'm going to map it out on my calendar to say, maybe this week I'm going to look at several websites I like. That's an action that can be accomplished this week, and I can check that off as done. Then next week, I'll put down on my calendar, I'm going to draw out a basic template for what I want my website to be redone to look like. That's just pulling out a blank piece of paper, taking a pencil, and drawing out a template, a sketch of what I want the site to look like. Easily doable. I can do that while I'm waiting for the Thanksgiving turkey to cook. Then the next week, the week after, I'm going to research 3 people or send out notes to 3 people who can help me actually make this sketch a reality, even though I already have one web person that I believe in. So these are all, that's just an example of little incremental things that can be done so that by the end of the year, I will have mapped out what I want my website to look like and be able to hand it to the people that I've gotten to help me do the actual implementation, either the end of this year or early next year, for the bigger goal. So think about what you can get done in the next 6 weeks and map it out on your calendar to be intentional, to be realistic, and then work your way through that each week. I guarantee you that if you take one item and map it out and work on it through the next 6 weeks, you're going to feel like, yes, I actually accomplished this and it can be done, and you'll feel better by the end of the year. And I see Yolanda, yeah, you're working on your rebranding now. Yeah. I think that's something that we all do at the end of the year. We kind of do that evaluation of where are we, how effective was what we did throughout the year, what was the effectiveness for us, and then what needs to be done to change that effectiveness so that we're better next year. I think rebranding and working on your rebranding is really important for if you're focusing on a different niche, a different product or a service. And it doesn't need to be a whole total rebrand. It might just be tweaking, which is what I'm doing. I'm not rebranding myself per se. Still going to be ideasuccessnetwork.com, which is my website. It's going to look a little different, have some better linkages, and really, really now laser focus on me as a pitch coach to help teams that want to pitch to investors, like on the tank programs. I won't mention the specific TV program, but on those kinds of events, I'll be coaching people through presentations and through what should go in their pitch decks to actually pitch to investors, which is a whole different world than pitching to other business arenas. So I've already, let's see, this has been about 6 or 7 minutes. Let me think of one other action item for this year. The other thing that I will be doing this year, that's really doable and a short-term goal is I've got a stack. Here we go. I've got business cards, cigar box, and a pretty cigar box, and I've got business cards in here from, I don't know, all this year, last year. How many of you have the same thing? Any of you have that stack of business cards, whether it's a messy stack or that or a neat stack like this? So I made one action, put them in a box. That was just about a week ago. So now I see the love. So now I'm going to take that, and those evenings when I'm sitting there watching TV and kind of a mindless watching going on, because that's my chill at night. I'm going to take all those cards and I'm going to start sifting through them and culling that card stack, because again, as I focus on a specific market now for my minor rebrand, I really want to make the stack of cards that I have work for me. I'm going to reach out and reconnect with those. Actually, I have a virtual assistant. I'm going to ask her to take the cards that I have left and reach out to those people to say, hey, new focus. If that new focus is something that you're interested in, keep in touch. If not, it's great meeting you, and see where that goes. So calling that, you can go through 10, 12, 15 cards in an evening, just mindlessly watching TV. And I'll just do that as I go through the rest of the year. I've got another box too that I didn't show you. Same thing, same stacks, because I love networking. So those are the two things for this broadcast, or for this BlabCast, that I'm going to share with you today. And that's really what I'm going to do every week. Share a couple of little tips that are actionable, that are doable right now, right away, that you can implement as it relates to getting your ideas out of your head and into action. Thank you. I see the love. That what I offered is powerful. I'm not doing it to come across as powerful. I'm doing it because I really I care about ideas. I think that I think ideas are powerful, but I think implementing them is even more powerful. And I just love helping people do what they've been planning on and thinking about doing. And any way I can help with that, that's what I'm about. So thank you for joining me. This is my second BlabCast, and I've got a lot more people today than I did last week. I think I'll actually let people know about this once I feel like I've gotten good. Actually put a real shirt on this time, and I actually put a real background, because my first broadcast, you'll probably see my messy office in the background. So I'm trying to get more professional with this, and I'll stop blabbing. So until next Monday at 10:05 a.m. Eastern time, or just catch the rebroadcast, the replay later. I'm going to sign out today, keeping it short, keeping it simple. I'm Sylvia Henderson. You can find me, connect with me at ideasuccessnetwork.com. Thank you. Thank you for taking your time to be with me this morning.